I listened to Paul Johnson, director of the Institute of Fiscal Studies, which is probably the most neutral of the various money-related think tanks. And he was on one of the many podcasts I follow. And he, like me, thinks that both of the main parties, Labour and Tory, have painted themselves into something of a proverbial corner by promising no increases to income tax and VAT, which, together with national insurance, account for around 75% of the total tax take. Both of them too have said that borrowing won't increase, so as he said, what's left? Well, Paul Johnson actually sees pensions as rife for reform, with tax-free cash being an anomaly. Leaving a pension free of any tax up to age 75, he says, is absurd and ludicrous. He doesn't think they'll actually change either, and I'd agree. They'd probably only be able to change the tax-free lump sum for future pensions, so any tax benefits would actually be way into the future. Restricting tax relief on the way in is, he thinks, the thing they might most likely to do, but that's been the case for the last 40 years, and it's a rumour that's been around at every budget for as long as I can remember. And the lifetime allowance, well, sorry, unless that's brought back in a really tough way and reduced significantly, it's not actually going to pay for more than a couple of potholes and hospital beds. Paul Johnson also thinks that stamp duty is rife for reform, as is the other main property-related tax, council tax. He said that apparently the council tax on Buckingham Palace is about the same as that of a similarly located 3-bed detached house, which is news to most of us, I'd say. He also agrees with something I've written in the past about national insurance, that if it actually went back to its roots as the stamp that you paid towards your state benefits, which is how it started off in the 40s, 50s and 60s, and that people could see a direct relationship between what they paid in national insurance for their stamp and what they could actually get or claim in various state benefits, then we'd all be much happier to pay it and possibly to pay more. He thinks, however, that ship has sailed and we can't now go back. The other bit of pension-related news that's been sloganised in the election campaign has been the state pension. And the Conservatives have said that Labour are going to make sure it's taxable. They won't, because if the state pension does keep rising in line with the triple lock, the highest measure of inflation each year, and income tax allowances stay frozen, it might indeed not be long before the state pension is more than the allowance, and so it does become taxable. If you've got other pensions in addition to the state pension, it would mean a change of tax code and more tax will be taken from one of those others. But there are many, many whose only income actually is the state pension, and that might suddenly become taxable, which would be a potential nightmare for the HMRC, who'd either have to bring in some new system of tax so that it could be paid at source, the state pension taxed at source, or try to get thousands, quite possibly hundreds of thousands, to fill in tax returns for the first time and pay what's due. So it would never happen. But of course it sounds like a pretty good "we love pensioners" tax pledge. And by the way, on Rishi's lie or garbage about £2,000 more tax over the course of a parliament if Labour gets in, if you do the math, as they say, that actually only works out to less than £10 a week, which most, I think, would be happy to pay if things actually did get better.